This is Hilda Silverstein, wife of an industrialist, whose life as a homemaker in picturesque Bucks County, Pennsylvania, has been transformed in recent years by a love affair with champion horses. This is Stanley Dancer, one-time 4-H boy, now a millionaire, who has trained and driven the holders of every major world race record in harness racing. This is Super Bowl, one of the greatest trotting horses in the nearly 170 years of recorded harness racing history. And this is the story of how the paths of these four converged, how they felt, and what they did on the road to DuQuoin. DuQuoin, Illinois, is a peaceful little town 325 miles south of Chicago and 80 miles southeast of St. Louis. Once a year, it bursts into headlines as a home of harness racing's greatest race, the Hambletonian, a race for the best 3-year-old trotters in the world, held without betting at the DuQuoin State Fair. Although there are many classic races at the huge pari-mutuel tracks in New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, and elsewhere, the Hambletonian is the race that breeders, owners, trainers, and drivers want to win most. The Hambletonian is raced on the 2,200-acre estate owned by young Bill and Carolyn Hayes, and by Bill's sister, Carol. To DuQuoin and the Hayes Fair Acres last summer came Sirpa Halanin, the Finnish college student, hired by mail to babysit for the Hayes' 4 daughters. Sirpa had never seen a harness horse or race before she got to DuQuoin. But no one stays in DuQuoin very long in that state of deprivation. Sirpa soon was caught up with the beauty and serenity of Hayes Fair Acres, and with the royally bred, standard-bred trotters and pacers that make the farm their home. By the time Hambletonian Week drew near at the end of August, Sirpa was an avid fan, watching the horses train on the big mile track and learning all she could about the traditional American sport of trotting. As the big race drew near and the cast for it assembled, Sirpa made new friends. One of them was Johnny Barker, the caretaker who groomed and looked after the Hambletonian favorite, Super Bowl. Another was Stanley Dancer himself, the man who trains and drives Super Bowl, as he had trained and driven other great harness racing champions like Cardigan Bay, the first harness horse to win $1 million, the great trotting champions Noble Victory and Neville Pride, and the world pacing champion Albatross. By Hambletonian Day, Sirpa Halanin not only was no longer a stranger to harness racing, but was now a knowledgeable and enthusiastic fan. Stanley Dancer, meanwhile, was traveling a road he knew well, For 20 years, this great race had taunted and tormented him. He had won virtually every other classic in the sport, but not the Hambletonian, not even in 1965, when he had the overwhelming favorite and noble victory. But his wife's Egyptian candor won the race. Finally, in 1968, Dancer ended the frustration, winning the Hambletonian with neighborly pride. And now he was back once again, trying for a second victory. The day before the race, Dancer, relaxing near the track with his friend and fellow driving star Delvin Miller, discussed the long road to DuQuoin and the big race.
You know, Stanley, we're pretty fortunate to have a colt filling the Hambletonian. There's about 1,000 nominated in the first place, and to have one of the, or two of the 7, there's an element of luck as well as having a pretty good horse for it, isn't it?
Sure is an awful lot of luck, though. And my colt had a few problems last year as a 2-year-old before we really got him started. I wound up taking him to Atlantic City from Pompano and took him to the farm, turned him out a couple weeks, then brought him back. In his first 4 or 5 races, he wasn't what you call real impressive. It was about August before he really got good. And this, by gosh, this spring he started off the same way. He wasn't real impressive till he got out 4 or 5 races under his belt, so you just never know. So we have to take the good with the bad.
That's right. Win, lose, or draw.
While Stanley Dancer mused about the quirks and vagaries of racing luck, 2 of his principal owners arrived in DuQuoin, traveling their roads to the Hambletonian. One was Dancer's wife, Rachel, no stranger to the Hambletonian or its winner's circle. And the other was Hilda Silverstein, a longtime patron of the Dancer stable and Rachel Dancer's partner in Super Bowl. Rachel had bought the colt as a yearling for $20,000 and then sold half interest to Mrs. Silverstein. Mr. Silverstein, also a harness horse enthusiast, but not a partner in Super Bowl, flew in with his wife and Mrs. Dancer, and the 3 were asked about their feelings on the eve of the most important race in the sport. Are you nervous, Mrs. Silverstein?
Very nervous.
Yeah.
I would have been, I think, I want to see the race, but I think at home, at least if you don't have to face anybody, you know, you can get in a quiet corner by yourself. And this is very, it's upsetting because, well, it just is. Did you ever see the play Fiddler on the Roof?
Yes.
And what was the name of the man that kept talking to God, saying, "Can't you make me, instead of make me a poor man, make me a rich man?" Well, I keep saying, come on there, God, just give him racing luck. You know, we won competition, but give us a little racing luck.
I know we call each other on the phone and we say, "Have you been praying today?"
Have you had your share of mishaps and misfortunes along the way, or has the road been a bed of roses getting here to the Hambletonian?
Oh, no, it's not a bed of roses at all. You have your ups and your downs, but that's life. And I feel with the horse business, something that you never have, you never miss, such as winning a race if it isn't won until it's won. And that's my philosophy, and therefore I'm never disappointed with anything. And Super Bowl, I went to see him race his first stake race at Pocono Downs, and Stanley was racing elsewhere. He asked me to go, and I went, and he was a riot. He concentrated on the people in the grandstand and the tote board in the center field, and he just gawked all over the place, and he finished 4th, and oh, his head was every which way. And when I went home, I left a note, and I said, "Stanley, you've got to make some changes," and he did. And from then on, Super Bowl started to do better. But he has really been a fun horse.
Mr. Silverstein, basically, this has been your wife's enterprise. How about your rewards from the horse business?
Well, I'm very happy that my wife is happy, and she seems to take the good or the bad, and her philosophy is eventually it must turn out all right. And while I had my doubts for that some time ago, I'm inclined to believe that she's right.
But the time for talking and hoping had ended, and the time for doing was at hand. the track came Axie Star, a 100-to-1 long shot owned and driven by a 67-year-old retired orthodontist and amateur driver from Michigan. The Black Streak with Howard Beisinger and the Houghton Stables Flush. Del Miller and Arnold Hanger's brilliant Delmonica Hanover. Stars Chip with Stanley Dancer's young son Ronnie driving. The Big Horse himself, Super Bowl. And Spartan Hanover, guided by the great driving champion, Bill Houghton. The first heat of the $119,000 Hambletonian was up for decision, and it was Super Bowl and Stanley Dancer against the field.
Here they come. Hayloft and Trotting, Delmonica Hanover is out fast with Stars Chip, Super Bowl, and Spartan Hanover on the outside. Around the first turn, Delmonica Hanover on the inside has the lead. Stars Chip right there in second. Super Bowl powering up in third. Down along the rail, the Black Streak is fourth. Spartan Hanover drops in fifth. Flush is sixth, and Axie Star trailing far back. Moving over to the quarter-mile mark, Stars Chip up now for the lead by half a length. Delmonica Hanover is second along the rail. They reach the quarter in 28 4/5 seconds. And here comes Super Bowl. Up on the outside, the powerful trotter charging to the front for Stanley Dancer. It is Super Bowl taking the lead onto the backstretch. He now leads his stablemate Stars Chip by a length and a half. 2 lengths back in third, Delmonica Hanover. Another length and a half finds the Black Streak in fourth. Spartan Hanover is fifth, Flush sixth, and far back Axie Star trails. Going to the half-mile mark, Super Bowl leads the way. He's there by a length and a half, at the half in 59 seconds flat. Super Bowl, the leader, Stars Chip close up in second, and here comes Delmonica Hanover. The filly champion drives from third and is coming on after Super Bowl. It is Super Bowl, a length and a half. On the outside, Delmonica Hanover gaining ground. Stars Chip third down along the rail. Spartan Hanover makes his move up on the outside in fourth. The Black Streak is fifth, Flush sixth, and Axie Star. As they come to the 3/4 mile mark, it's Super Bowl, reaching that station in 1:29, and Delmonica Hanover is right alongside. Super Bowl and Delmonica Hanover. Dancer has not yet gone to the whip. Super Bowl leads the way by a length. Delmonica Hanover second. Up on the outside comes Spartan Hanover. In the stretch and in the final 1/8 of a mile, Super Bowl is blowing away. It's Super Bowl opening 4 lengths on Delmonica Hanover down to the lane. Super Bowl cruising to the wire. And Super Bowl has won the first heat of the Hambletonian in 1:57 2/5.
Now it was clear that only mishap or misfortune could deprive Super Bowl of a Hambletonian victory. And a confident Stanley Dancer relaxed in the paddock between heats. Super Bowl himself also seemed unconcerned. To win the Hambletonian, a horse must win 2 heats. So out went Super Bowl to seek the laurels.
In behind the starting gate for the second heat of the Hambletonian. And here they come. Hayloft and Trotting, Super Bowl out fast, Delmonica Hanover and Spartan Hanover on the outside. Stars Chip is fourth, the Black Streak fifth on the inside, Flush is sixth, and Axie Star trailing once again. Around that first turn, Super Bowl in front by a length, Delmonica Hanover close up second. In third, Spartan Hanover, and 3 of the greatest drivers in the sport, Stan Dancer, Delvin Miller, and Billy Houghton. 1, 2, 3 as they go to the quarter. And Houghton, not waiting, comes out with Spartan Hanover and is driving up to challenge Super Bowl for the lead at the quarter in 29 2/5 seconds. It is Super Bowl, 3/4 of a length. Spartan Hanover is second. Delmonica Hanover holds the rail in third. They've opened 4 lengths on the black streak. And Delmonica Hanover moves up along the rail, a closer second, as Super Bowl eases off slightly, going down the back stretch. And Delmonica moves up a very tight second for Del Miller. In third is Spartan Hanover, the black streak fourth, and there goes Flush out of fifth and roaring up on the outside. Flush, trotting furiously, is third, now moves to second. They get to the half in 59 seconds, and Flush comes on for Glenn Garnsey, up alongside Super Bowl, but Super Bowl responding to Stan Dancer's urging, widens out again and now leads by a length and a half. Flush drops in second as they come to the 3/4 mile mark. Delmonica Hanover is third, Spartan Hanover is fourth. The black streak is fifth, Stars Chip sixth, and Axie Star far behind. Under the 3/4 comes Super Bowl. Here comes Delmonica Hanover up on the outside again. 3/4 in 1:28 flat. And it's Super Bowl leading away as Delmonica Hanover charges up at him. Stanley Dancer waves his whip and Super Bowl responds. Into the stretch, Super Bowl trotting strongly leads the way by 2. Racing in second, Delmonica Hanover. Flush is third, and Super Bowl is roaring away. In the final 1/8 of a mile, Super Bowl roaring away from Delmonica Hanover and winning the Hambletonian. And it is Super Bowl home in 1:56 2/5, a new Hambletonian and world record.
The fastest mile by a 3-year-old trotter in the long history of harness racing. For trainer-driver Stanley Dancer, and for owners Rachel Dancer and Hilda Silverstein, for excited young fans Sirpa Halanin, and for Super Bowl himself, this is where the road to DuQuoin had been leading. Up the red carpeted path, into one of the most exclusive enclosures in all of sport, the Hambletonian Winner's Circle, Victory Lane in DuQuoin. Years of waiting and hoping, months of training, days of problems and disappointments, hours of bright promise and accomplishment. They all merged here in minutes of superb performance by a horse destined to become Trotter of the Year. From that long road with its bittersweet turns came Super Bowl, King of Trotters, and his happy court. With the victory, Super Bowl moved to within 1 race of trotting's Triple Crown, but blocking the way and casting a slight shadow on the Hambletonian victory was the brilliant colt, Song Can, Super Bowl's chief rival. Not in the Hambletonian, but eligible for the coming Kentucky Futurity, he had beaten Super Bowl 7 times in 17 meetings over 2 seasons of competition. For now, however, it was Super Bowl's moment of glory. He had come to DuQuoin and won in world record time. And for Sirpa Halanin, who had come to this peaceful corner of the world, not knowing that she would be caught up in a dramatic and exciting moment that would live with her forever, Super Bowl's victory was a deeply moving and personal experience. The happy scent of victory is sweet and lasting. But Super Bowl's road went on beyond DuQuoin to Lexington, and so back to the famed Kentucky Bluegrass where he was born went Super Bowl to meet his arch rival and clear for once and all his title to the crown. There in head-and-head competition, great horse against great horse, the 2 superb colts will battle it out over the historic Red Mile, traditional meeting ground of harness racing champions in the Kentucky Futurity, oldest of all American trotting classics, first raced in 1893. There is no race meeting quite like Lexington. The students here come early and stay late and know their lessons. This is horse country, and the faithful of the clan, young and old, gather here each fall in the loveliest time of year and in one of the sport's most historic settings to watch established champions defend their laurels and see new ones crowned. The people who come here know racing, know the horses and trainers and drivers, know one another, and appreciate racing drama when they see it. They were well aware that Super Bowl was laying it on the line against Song Can, and the fact that Song Can came to the race from a world record performance over the half-mile track at Delaware, Ohio, added to the interest and excitement. Although the purse for this renewal of the historic Futurity was $56,210, only 3 hardy 3-year-olds, Spartan Hanover, Quick Work, and the Black Streak were on hand to challenge Super Bowl and Song Can. In the first heat, Super Bowl takes command early and boldly leads the way. Stanley Dancer has said all along that his colt is clear to the best, and he's out to prove it today. George Schulte, like Dancer, one of the finest drivers in the sport, drops Song Can in behind Super Bowl. On the backstretch, first Quick Work and then Spartan Hanover move up to challenge. But at the half-mile mark, it's Super Bowl comfortably in front. With a quarter of a mile to go, it is still Super Bowl trotting powerfully with Spartan Hanover outside and Song Can still snug in behind, saving ground for Schulte along the rail, waiting to make his move. Then, as Song Can drives from second position in the final eighth of a mile for his stretch charge, trouble strikes. The colt responds eagerly and anxiously to Schulte's guidance, comes out too sharply, and clips the tire on the right wheel of Super Bowl Sulky. The tire blows out, and Dancer goes to the whip to urge Super Bowl, now dragging an off-balance Sulky, to hold off the fast-closing Song Can, charging up furiously on the outside. It is close, but it's Super Bowl in 2 minutes flat. The Kentucky Futurity, like the Hambletonian, requires the victor to win 2 heats. Super Bowl now stands just 1 mile away from the Triple Crown and complete vindication over his 7-time conqueror and constant tormentor. He trots readily into battle. Super Bowl leaves fast, and Song Can is unable to get to the front. Rather than race parked on the outside, Schulte wrestles the rank Song Can back into second along the rail behind Super Bowl. But Schulte's horse is fired up and fighting mad, and he wants out as the horses enter the backstretch, and Spartan Hanover moves up on the outside. Following Spartan and battling Schulte for his head, Song Can again moves too close to Super Bowl Sulky Wheel, and for the second time, Dancer said later the odds of it happening twice were 1,000,000 to 1, Song Can clips Dancer's tire. And here's how it looked to the drivers in the race. This time, Dancer is in far more serious trouble. He still has 3/4 of a mile to go with Super Bowl, and his champion will have to trot that distance, pulling the extra drag of 1 flat tire. Dancer has to gamble. Supremely confident, he sends Super Bowl charging to the front once again. Dancer knows he's in trouble. To compensate for the added drag and to prevent the tire from coming off the rim and wrapping around the axle, which will spell certain defeat, Dancer moves as far to the left as he can, scooting over from the sulky seat to the arch of the bike, taking weight off the right wheel and tire. And that is how he finishes the mile, sitting precariously off balance as his champion trots every step of the way without hesitation or miscue. Dancer sweats it out, and Super Bowl trots an amazing mile in 1 minute 59 seconds, flat tire and all. This time there is no doubt, and the victory is complete. The long road to DuQuoin and beyond to Lexington is now behind him, and Super Bowl stands at the summit of American trotting.